I just realized I don't think the multi-stream that I've been trying to run has been working. We're learning. We're learning. Little bit of learning to do. Little bit of learning. Well, maybe actually. It is fine. Let's see. Oh, I'm supposed to click the button there. This is actually giving me an opportunity to just run a few little ideas in the stream as well, which is quite nice. Here we go. Do I use F1 multi-viewer? I do indeed. We will be hopefully getting to see multi-viewers, wonderful, wonderful interactive screens a little bit later on if we do end up with qualifying in front of us. There is indeed a possibility of qualifying being tomorrow. That is the other option that they've got. Qualifying could be moved back to tomorrow. I could see them doing that. I'll be honest. I think at this point it's going to be quite tricky to get everything sorted. Well, we'll give it a little while. Obviously, we've only 12 minutes delayed at the moment. But we do still have no real confirmation as to when we are going to see this happening. But we'll kind of give it another 30 minutes or so. The FIA saying that they will give a rundown of what's happening. But it's a nice opportunity for us to just have a little chat. Does Lewis have a chance? Not this weekend. He was very, very upset with the speed of the Mercedes car during the sprint race. I think he toned it his worst race. Yeah, Lewis Hamilton. That was one of my worst races, as Lewis Hamilton reflects on his horrendous sprint in Sao Paulo. So he was not very happy at all. Like, he obviously dropped down a good few positions at the start. Being out of shape at turn 1 didn't help. And then from there, it was just quite a struggle for him to do anything. He did move up a few places in the end, did Lewis Hamilton. Like, we look at the final positions that they did have. Hamilton did end up, where was it? 16th. Oh, no, sorry. This is dropped out. This is changed around. This is not the sprint format. Sorry. Wrong one. I'll just leave it. But he did end up, what was it, 11th in the end, Lewis Hamilton. So did manage to move up some places towards the end of the sprint race, but a pretty dismal race for him. Yeah, dropped down to 14th and then moved up to P11, reclaiming his qualifying position, but scoring no points. So he started and finished P11, but within that dropped a few places in the meantime. So Lewis Hamilton not looking like he's very happy at all. Has the rain stopped? Not yet. At the moment, it is still trickling down. But we could end up with either qualifying today, or we could end up seeing qualifying tomorrow. So we could actually have a qualifying session running tomorrow if it doesn't play out for these drivers. Have a little look. Pop in a couple of bits. Oh, I feel like the multi-stream is actually working. Hello to people who are joining in the vertical live stream. The vertical world of YouTube. Thank you for joining. You can get the full experience by clicking the link onto the channel and joining us in the main chat if you would like. But I know some people just love a TikTok live stream, don't they? So trying some vertical viewership this time around. I think Verstappen hit with a 12 penalty points before Abu Dhabi. Unlikely. Would be impressive, wouldn't it? If they ended the season with Max Verstappen not taking part in the final Grand Prix. It would be very interesting to see who went into that Red Bull seat. Like, I know that, you know, when Kevin Magnussen got the race ban, it was easy for them to just pop in Ollie Behrman. Ollie Behrman being their driver for next year. It was like, that makes perfect sense. But now, obviously, Red Bull with Sergio Perez, with Liam Lawson, with everything that's going on, would be super interesting if Max Verstappen say Max Verstappen not even got a penalty, but say had similar to Carlos Sainz and had to have his appendix out or something like that. Imagine, who takes that seat? Tsunoda, Hadjar, Lawson. Who goes in there? It'd be super, super interesting to see who they did pick. Do you think it would be Tsunoda GameStar 70? I don't know. I think they'd maybe go Lawson, I think they'd go Lawson in there, and then they'd put Hadjar into the other seat. Obviously, depending on how late notice it is, because Hadjar doesn't really go to that many Grand Prix with the Red Bull team. It's not like I've seen him in the garage a lot throughout the year. I suppose because Liam Lawson has been there, spectating when Daniel Ricciardo has been racing. So we haven't seen a lot of Isaac Hadjar. Great to see if he does sort of slot in, though. See him in an RB, and then, well, they don't really, even though Hadjar's only second in the Formula 2 Championship, they're trying to nab Colapinto at the moment, aren't they? Colapinto looking more likely to go into that RB seat at the moment than Isaac Hadjar. I think because they want to keep a lot of their South American sponsors and also gain some of the sponsors that Colapinto has, that he has brought to Williams. You see Williams running the yellow livery on their car this weekend. That is thanks to Franco Colapinto, bringing in some cash from his point of view. Max is number 1 right now. If he loses the championship, go back to 33. Yeah, of course. So you're only allowed to use the number 1 if you are the world champion at the time. We didn't see it for a little while, though. Lewis Hamilton sort of opted to keep the 44, even though he was the world champion. But Max Verstappen was very much straight onto that. Give me the number 1, put it on my car. When do I think quali will start? Not too sure. We're just going to have to wait and see what the FIA say. Still no confirmation from them as to how long this delay is going to be. But the rain is sort of slowing down a touch. Hasn't finished yet. So we do need to, I think we're going to have to wait until at least the rain stops. And then from there, once the rain has stopped, we can get a feeling for how long it's actually going to take for the track to clear some of this water. Shouldn't be too bad because the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, like a lot of it is sloped. So there's a lot of areas where the rain will obviously run down the hills. And there's also quite a nice area in the middle, like you can kind of see from the graphic. There's a big area in the middle which is grassy. So that'll drain quite a lot of the water fairly quickly as well. So should be okay if the rain does stop. If the rain doesn't stop, we could be waiting here a little while. Could end up being a good chunk of time. What are my thoughts on scrapping the fastest lap point? The fastest lap can only be taken by the top 10 finishers only. Wait, what? Yeah, so the top 10 finishers can only get the fastest lap point. I think it kind of makes sense. It was a bit of a gimmick. You got to remember that the fastest lap point has only been in Formula 1 6 years. So, it's not been like an absolute stalwart of the Formula 1 grid, and it's crazy that it's going. I suppose for newer fans, they may not have seen a time where Formula 1 didn't have the fastest lap rule, and it feels like quite a big change. But honestly, I don't think it's that much. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. All it'll do is we just won't see, like you see already, teams only gamble on the fastest lap point if it's clear that like they'll get it. So like if you've got a 20-second margin to the person behind you, you don't gamble on the fastest lap point. If you've got a 30-second margin to the person behind you, then you gamble on it, right? So it's only done when you've got like a super big margin and you can nab that fastest lap point away. So I don't think it's actually going to make that big of a difference, but I do think the fastest lap point was fun. It was interesting, but it's starting to be quite controversial. Like, if you think, when's the last time we actually discussed the fastest lap point? Like, a lot of the time it just goes by the wayside until there is a scenario like where Daniel Ricciardo nabs the fastest lap point at the end, or Esteban Ocon nabs the fastest lap point at the end away from a driver who was running in the points. So it's just like, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference to the overall sort of aspect of driving. and the races that we're going to see. Do you think it would be better for the fastest lap to only be set by the top 10 instead? And then the point is given. Oh, I see what you mean. Like if you're outside of the top 10, then your fastest lap doesn't count. That would be interesting. I suppose that would add a little bit more of an aspect to it. But then what do you do if, say, Charles Leclerc's got the fastest lap of the race, but then has a mechanical fault 2 laps from the end of the Grand Prix? I suppose then it just drops to whoever's got the next fastest lap inside of the top 10. But technically, George, oh no, because then his classification position would be outside of the top 10. That could work. That could be interesting. I mean, we're talking about it now. Unfortunately, it's done and dusted, isn't it? They are taking away that fastest lap point. It is going to be fully taken away for the foreseeable future. Maybe it will come back into Formula One at some point in the future. You know, things come and go in Formula One. And the fastest lap is definitely something that can be revisited and maybe changed and added in. But to wait and see, because obviously they did the kind of if you remember back in the day, they did the qualifying sessions where it was like knockout quali. So like I can't remember how long it was it every minute or every 2 minutes or something like that, somebody just dropped out? Like if you were last, if you had the slowest time of anybody, you just got dropped out of qualifying there and then, even if you were on track. So that was quite interesting, but that only lasted 2-3 races and then was dropped. Like Formula One does try things, does innovate, and then sometimes backtracks on those decisions. It's just taken a little while for them to backtrack on the fastest lap point. Just taking it away after a few seasons time. Yeah, so we've got about 8-9 minutes until the FIA update. Once the FIA update comes through, I will let you know what they say in terms of running the qualifying today. Might end up running the qualifying tomorrow. Oh, there you go. Yeah, every 90 seconds. Thank you, Eden. Yeah, I knew it was something like that. That was quite interesting, but didn't really work. And the drivers hated it, so it got taken away fairly swiftly. When the drivers really hate something, it's gone fairly quickly, isn't it? Why do I resemble Oscar Piastri? I don't think I do. Maybe the haircut. Who's winning the constructors? I think McLaren. McLaren definitely. I think now, just looking at the pace today, I think Ferrari would need another couple of weekends to really run in their favor. And I can only really envisage the Ferrari being quicker in Las Vegas compared to the McLarens. I think then you're looking at, what would it even be? Probably Abu Dhabi also would be Ferrari's best opportunity at being quicker than the McLarens. I just think the McLarens are going to have, obviously, the run of it today. That's a bit obvious now that we've seen the sprint race. But also Qatar, very much not a track that I would consider a Ferrari-style track. Abu Dhabi the same, to be honest. So, yeah, only Las Vegas I'd really put in Ferrari's favour. The weather should be suitable for a medical helicopter to fly, which is not currently the case. Yeah, it's just not safe at the moment for the drivers. Like, even if they were sent out on track, there'd just be too many spins and chaos. Like, it is way too wet for Formula One racing, which is a little bit of a downside of Formula One and is a negative that is thrown at the sport quite a lot, really. The fact that a lot of the time we do end up sort of having these weekends where if there's a dabble of rain, we do end up just having to sort of sit and watch and wait. Formula One does sometimes, try and force it a little bit. Think back to 2021 in Belgium, the race that wasn't really a race, where we had 3 laps of running behind a safety car. Nikita Mazepin got the fastest lap of the race, which I think was over 3 minutes long, and we then all went home after that, and it was a bit like, not sure the drivers really deserved points for 3 laps behind the safety car. And I feel like, obviously, we can't have that now because it's qualifying, and qualifying can't run behind the safety car, but we could end up seeing something similar if the rain does continue, because Formula One doesn't like there to not be a Grand Prix. But technically, what you classify as a Grand Prix is always a little bit controversial. Since upgrades from the end of the season carry over into next year, do I think McLaren will be competitive from next year's beginning? And why Red Bull's struggling since 2023 was so dominant? Yeah, I think, we're looking at Ferrari and McLaren being the two teams going into next year with the most momentum. Doesn't necessarily mean that they'll start the year the fastest. I mean, they should. If everything goes well over the winter, they should end up still being in that dominant position moving forwards. In terms of Red Bull, they've just hit a little bit of a slope in terms of their upgrades. Obviously, they did have those underlying problems anyway. I think it's less that Red Bull have gotten slower. It's more that McLaren and Ferrari have caught up. And then beyond that, McLaren and Ferrari, the way that they've built their cars, they've also been able to keep building on top of that. Whereas Ferrari seem to hit a little bit of a wall with their fundamental kind of aerodynamic design. They did try and change that dramatically at the beginning of the season. You might remember, we all looked at the Red Bull that was launched at the beginning of the season. We were like, why does that look like a Mercedes from 2 years ago? Like, they went for those kind of vertical side pods and the big cannons behind the driver's head. They've kind of moved away from that because I think they realized that just hit its peak too quickly and they had too many fundamental issues with the car moving forwards. So they've moved away from that and they now do have more of a in line with everybody else style side pod and look to it. If you look at the car from behind, it does look kind of Ferrari, McLaren-y more so now than the Mercedes-like. So I think Red Bull just kind of hit that wall. And then from there, they've just struggled to improve. Obviously, they tried to update their floor a couple of times. Hasn't worked for them. This new Verstappen floor does look like it's improved a little bit, but they haven't been able to improve enough to catch up to McLaren and Ferrari in that case. So Red Bull looking like they do need a winter break, to be honest, to kind of reset and do it. When did you do my first race live stream? 2021, kind of mid-season-y. Can't remember whenabouts it was. I want to say, maybe it was the first race of 2021. It was around about, it was the first thing I did when I started the channel. This is very much the bread and butter of the channel. Why has Red Bull changed its power unit? Because they had a problem, unfortunately, just hit into an issue. Obviously, they had the power unit penalty from Belgium. So they took one there for Max Verstappen and wanted to have a... Oh, no, sorry. Well, there was a little update. They had that earlier on in the season where they had the penalty in Belgium. And then over the last couple of weekends, in Mexico, Max Verstappen had an absolutely awful free practice too, where another one of his power units just went wrong. And that means that they've needed another internal combustion engine. Luckily, not a full power unit change, but just the ICE. Therefore, got it down. The big shoulders just been ditched for higher downforce tracks. Oh yeah. That's what I mean. There's still tinkering, I would say, with the Red Bull fundamental concept. But if you look at the side pod design, it is very, very different to the beginning of the season. I mean, so's the majority of teams, to be fair. Obviously, that they iterate a lot on the cars that we have. Do I think that Checo doesn't perform? This could be his last race for Red Bull. I think he'll stay until the end of the season now. I think they will have Sergio Perez in that seat until the end of the season. And then at the end of the year, they'll address it properly. And also, it depends whether they can get hold of Franco Colapinto. If they do move Lawson up into that second seat, they also need to be able to guarantee to RB that they're going to have a racing driver that is worthwhile in that second seat, right? They need a racing driver that can go in alongside Yuki Tsunoda and still do a good job at RB. Is that Isaac Hadjar? They don't seem super set on Isaac Hadjar. They gave him quite a lot of time and quite a lot of running, but I don't know. They've kind of gone off him a little bit, especially since Franco Colapinto has kind of come into the fray. I think because Isaac Hadjar doesn't have the kind of sponsorship money behind him that someone like a Franco Colapinto does, to be honest, is a big factor in that case. And also just the fact that Franco Colapinto's kind of been in the Formula One car and doing really well. You go back to Silverstone, where we did see Colapinto in the Williams and Isaac Hadjar in the RB, and Franco Colapinto was better, was quicker, was more exciting to watch when it came to that Silverstone free practice 1 session. So makes sense that Red Bull are kind of looking at Franco and whether or not they can get Franco Colapinto in one way or another before they then move into going into whether or not Sergio Perez gets the cut. Yeah, it's literally always Checo's last race. Good point. Yeah, it does feel like Sergio Perez is always like done and dusted. Hey, there we go. Confirmation. It looks like we are going to get underway in Sao Paulo. Let me just double check that this isn't random Twitter news that is nothing. Just double check. There we go. We got confirmation. Likely close to 4 p.m. local time. There you go. The estimated start of qualifying will be at 4 p.m. local time. That is confirmation coming through. And it does mean that we will have, what, about half an hour or so until we get underway. Estimated start 4 p.m. local time in Brazil. So we are going to get some racing as long as the track can be cleared of water by then. What are my predictions? Honestly, you can throw any kind of predictions out right now because it's just impossible to tell with the mixed conditions, with the rain coming down. Obviously, you can go off of the sprint qualifying and be like, should see something similar, even though they are now allowed to use the soft compound tires from the beginning, whereas it's medium compound tires only during the sprint qualifying first couple of sessions. But now, it's just looking, I feel like with the rain, honestly, my predictions are kind of nowhere until we get to see what the cars are like in these wet weather conditions, and the drivers as well. The feeling that they'll have in the wet weather conditions will be so different to what they have during the race. So it could really mix up the grid in terms of where they're likely to be. But we are going to see some racing, which is nice. We're not going to have a sparse situation on our hands. It's still only an estimated, though. I was just trying to see if there's any other wording that has come out from the FIA, but unfortunately not. It's qualifying is estimated to start at 4 p.m. local time. So, not quite 100% confirmed as of yet, but a wet quali could be on the cards. And this is a shame, isn't it? No Kevin Magnussen, a Brazil wet qualifying session. He was born for this. He was raised by it. Obviously, that first ever pole position for Haas came here in 2022 during a mixed conditions qualifying session. Okay, the rain came a little bit later and played into Kevin Magnussen's hands a little bit more. But unfortunately, we are looking at no Kevin Magnussen in this wet weather conditions, but we are going to get a race nonetheless. 4 p.m. local time in Britain. No. It is 6:30 already in the UK where I am. 4 p.m. local time in Brazil. Would I make a video about Gilles Villeneuve? I remember you talking about it once. Maybe. I don't really make sort of deep dives into old school drivers, mainly just because I don't have the time to a lot of the time, you know. This is not my full-time running, unfortunately. I do have a job 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So it is evenings and weekends. And I feel like to do justice in a video like that, you have to do a full deep dive. I'd have to go back and watch a lot of racing. I'd have to, you know, do it justice. I was thinking about doing a video about Senna as well, sort of around about the sort of celebrations of Senna. Remember when we had like the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix where Senna was kind of talked about a lot? Obviously, I could have done it this weekend with Lewis Hamilton, doing the Senna tribute as well here in Brazil. So I would like to make a video on like those old school drivers, but unfortunately at the moment there's not really the possibility for me to do so. But maybe in the future, I'd love to kind of go back, look at some of those old school drivers, maybe sort of see how good they were really. You know what I mean? Do you think any chance Charles wins this Grand Prix? I mean, again, you look at the sprint race. Where did he finish? 4 seconds off Verstappen, which was what? 6 seconds off the lead. Almost 5.5 to 6 seconds off the lead in 24 laps. You know, it's not a dismal return from Charles Leclerc at all. Definitely could be in contention for a victory here. It's just looking like the McLaren car has the better of it, you know, and the Ferrari not quite there. The update to the McLaren rear wing does seem to have worked wonders. They seem to have jumped back up to the top of the timing sheets again, whereas it has been Ferrari so more often than not in the last 5-6 weekends, to be honest. So that's the way that it's kind of rolled, unfortunately, for Ferrari. Is that update to the McLaren rear wing just put them in a position where now they do feel like the number one once more. And I love that. Like, that's a really lovely. I love that because I'm a McLaren fan, but I love that for this season. The fact that we have seen back and forth. We've seen twos and fros of people going, you know, fastest. Red Bull started the quickest. Then we had a little stint where McLaren were the quickest. Then we had a little stint where Mercedes were the quickest. Then it kind of went back to McLaren. Then it went to Ferrari. Now it looks like it's back to McLaren again. So it's just like, it has gone back and forth quite a bit, hasn't it? Where we've got that few teams who have been fastest at some point, kind of jumping backwards and forwards. Am I wearing a cotton hoodie? I don't know what it is. It's just an AlphaTauri hoodie from last season before, something like that. I think this was a Pierre Gasly one, so it must have been season before last, I want to say. But I do like an RB AlphaTauri hoodie. I got another RB one during the 100,000 subscriber special. We have not underway just yet, no. Collab with Rocket Powered Mohawk? Maybe. Unlikely. I just feel like we're very different people. But maybe, you know. Ferrari has a chance. McLaren definitely can win, and Max alone could win. Surprised at Max's pace in the sprint. Yeah, me too, actually. I was expecting the Ferrari to be quicker than the Red Bull, but Max sort of came up with the goods. Got in front of Charles Leclerc, but then dropped behind Charles Leclerc because of that 5-second penalty. Avatar is such a good name. I mean, it's going to be Racing Bulls next year, right? Racing Bulls, because Visa and Cash App moving away from being involved. So looking like that move away from Daniel Ricciardo is going to cost the RB team a little bit of money off track with those sponsors. But if we could hit that like button, that would be absolutely amazing. I haven't even kept track of how many likes the stream has got. If you could hit that like button, that'd be absolutely insane because that helps out the stream more than anything else. If you are new here, you can hit that subscribe button. That'd be amazing. We are heading towards 110,000 subscribers, trying to hit that before the end of the season. So if you could help me on my way to doing that, that would be amazing. And also, if you do want to support the channel, as I just said, this is not my full-time job, but I'm trying to move it towards the possibility of being so in the future. If you do want to support out, you can help by becoming a member for just £3 a month or a patron for £3 a month, and you gain access to additional content every single week. There is a bonus mailbag episode that only patrons get access to, and members, sorry, also get access to. You can sign up and become a patron for free, and you'll get access to the audio version of that podcast and the mailbag. But also, if you want to then have the video version, you have to pay a £3 subscription. But, it's the equivalent of, buying me a nice coffee or a drink in a bar. If we met in real life, you'd maybe buy me a little drink. I'd probably buy you a drink. So if you can, that would be absolutely amazing. When is qualifying set to start? It's estimated to be starting in about 20 minutes time. But again, we haven't got full confirmation of that. That's why I keep peering over to the side. I'm looking for anything that says like full confirmation, definitely guaranteed in any way. Because at the moment, we're still an estimated time for the qualifying start. Put a timer up. That is a good idea. I don't think I've got one to hand, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't have one to hand, unfortunately. To be able to put it up. Am I a Londoner? No, I am not. I'm located in Norwich, which is in the middle of absolutely nowhere. What's my favorite gemstone? Ooh, no idea. Ruby? Sapphire. Pokemon Sapphire was a banger. Let's go with that. Sapphire. I mean, Ruby was pretty good as well, but I had Sapphire first, so I'll go with Sapphire. Blue is more my color, isn't it? You poor man. What, from being from Norwich? Yeah, thanks. Will Gabriello get a seat? Seems to happen in the foreseeable future. It's my main job. I'm a teacher. Gamer Boy being sus. A little bit sus. Is my favorite track Singapore? Or what's my favorite track after Singapore? Probably Sao Paulo, to be fair. Sao Paulo is definitely up there. Also really like Canada. Canada's up there for me. We are looking like we're going to try and get on with qualifying. Christian Horner making a good point. We are so running out of daylight at this point. The rain has sort of started to fall a little bit harder again, though. So the estimated qualifying start at 4 p.m. local time. Looking a little bit unlikely. It's going to be a bit of a risk. I mean, we might end up coming back and live streaming tomorrow morning as well. What's with the new live format? So I am now live both on horizontal and vertical platforms. So if you click the link on the short, and you can head over and watch the full live stream by clicking that link, or you can just watch the format as a short. Any update on the track? They are sweeping water away, which I always find really entertaining to watch. When they've got like the squeegees and they're kind of squeegeeing the track to try and remove some of the water, the standing water that is out there on the track at the moment. It is still tumbling down a little bit, though, when it comes to the rain falling on the circuit. He looks like a maths teacher. Is that a good thing? What does that mean? Vertical is annoying, but it's up to you. You've got that option. I want to diversify, offer people what they want, offer people as much as I can, and therefore we've got a live format in both vertical and horizontal. They both work. You can choose whichever one you want. Thoughts on Red Bull device, like the car height thing? I think that was kind of very overblown, to be honest, and well, it's gone by the wayside now, hasn't it? So less people are worried about it. I think it was a nothingness. It's one of those things. We are still waiting for a full confirmation. We are 15 minutes away from the estimated start of qualifying. Yeah, Christian Horner complaining about the virtual safety car being like, oh yeah, of course. But you got to remember, right? These F1 managers and team bosses and etc., they have so much vested interest in their own team doing well. It makes perfect sense that whenever anything goes against Red Bull, Christian Horner's going to complain against it. Whenever anything goes against McLaren, you have Zach Brown come out and talk about it. Like, you have to be clear that even if they don't 100% believe it, you know what I mean? Like, even if Christian Horner doesn't in his heart of hearts actually believe that the virtual safety car was late, he's going to say it. He's going to say it because it looks good for him. It obviously puts a little bit of pressure on the stewards. It puts a little bit of pressure on the FIA so that next time there's a decision, they, you know, maybe act slightly differently. They're all human after all. My opinion on Théo Pourchaire, unfortunately, I don't think he's ever going to be involved in Formula One. I hope that he does sort of disappear and do well in other form of motorsport down the line. But yeah, he was so close, wasn't he? So close so many times. But winning Formula 2 at your third time of asking just isn't that impressive, unfortunately. It's one of those things that unless you win Formula 2 as a rookie, or you get close as a rookie and then win it in your second season, when you win it in your third season, especially in a season that wasn't overly competitive, like there wasn't a lot of ridiculous talent in the pool, I think, yeah, Théo Pourchaire never really was going to get a chance in a Formula One team. I hoped, I prayed, I kind of sort of looked into it a little bit, and you know, I always had him in there in my predictions and was hopeful that he would get a seat because I wanted to see him have a chance. But I know Théo Pourchaire looking like an indie contract, of course, and then see what he does from there. Cool. George Russell wants to get out on track, wants to get a little bit of excitement going, but and George Russell doesn't think that we're going to get underway. 15-minute delay now coming in. Yeah, it's quali now getting pushed back another 15 minutes. Now it's still estimated, isn't it? Still estimated in terms of that start time. So the FIA's head of safety actually going out in the safety car. So Bert Mylander just running them around the track to see if they can have a little look at the safety out there on track. And oh, wow. Now, estimated qualifying start time is indeed delayed to 6:15. Actually, just... you know what I could do? I just thought, I don't have a timer to hand, but I do have a source I can add, right? Oh. It's looking unlikely, isn't it? Let's pop this somewhere where it looks okay. Something like that. There you go. Qualifying estimated 6:15 local time at the moment. What if quali is not completed today? Then it looks like we're going to have qualifying early tomorrow morning. Again, though, it's expected to be fairly wet tomorrow morning. So very tricky to kind of judge whether or not it's going to be. Obviously, if it's still raining like this tomorrow morning, then how far do you push back this qualifying session before you just kind of give it up a little bit, right? It's got to be a stopping point at some point because we do have to actually get the Grand Prix itself in. The problem that they've also got is with the race calendar being how it is, it's not like we can delay this until next week or anything like that. You know, we could push the Brazilian Grand Prix to next Sunday, but then we'd have a quadruple header on our hands because we go straight into... Oh no, is there a 2-week gap or a 1-week gap? 2-week gap? Maybe not. But I mean, we'd have a lot of races coming thick and fast. We've obviously still got Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi yet to play out. So, not sure the teams would want to spend another week in Brazil to wait for next weekend. So then the next thing is just to cancel it altogether. Can teams see each other's radio messages? Yes, they can. Let me just double check. Is it a 2-week gap between Brazil and Vegas? Oh, it is a 2-week gap. So we could see the Brazilian Grand Prix pushed back a week. That would be pretty crazy. That would be like the last minute resort if that were to ever happen. But we'll have to wait and see. Is there fireworks where I am? Yes, indeed. Yeah. 5th of November, but obviously being the closest one. Why don't I do a collaborative stream with some other YouTubers? I'd love that. But again, I think I live a little bit out of the way. Obviously, being in Norwich, I don't think many YouTubers would want to make the trip to Norwich. And then doing it through like Discord or something. I feel like for a live stream where we're both watching the race, because like even if one of our streams is slightly out, you know what I mean? It would just be a bit weird. It wouldn't quite work. I'd absolutely love to make it happen. If any YouTubers want to come down to Norwich and watch a race with me, absolutely up for that. But I don't know how many people would be down. More rain in the forecast tomorrow? Yeah, that's what I mean. So now I'm starting to worry, like, if this is delayed, so if we get qualifying delayed for tomorrow, say, and then on top of that, we get, you know, the then qualifying tomorrow delayed tomorrow, and it's like, how far back can we push this before it gets a little bit silly? Show us the Lego car behind you. I don't really want to pick it up. It's quite fragile. It's been there a little while now. Like the springs, which used to hold the car aloft, like the car used to actually sit, you know, a few millimeters above the ground. It no longer does that. The springs that it used to sit on have given way, so the floor has completely bottomed out. Like that would be breaking a lot of the regulations for touching the track, and the plank would not have a very good time of it in my one. So I don't really want to touch it because it might just disintegrate in front of me. But at the moment, it stays still and it looks lovely. Rain, rain, rain. Indeed. Can't have a rain in qualifying. I mean, we can. We can't have this level of rain qualifying. You know what I mean? There's levels to rain, isn't there? You know, there's a little bit of rain, little dabble of rain. It's sort of spitting, and you're like, oh, okay, I could still go out in that. I'll chuck a coat on. And then there's, you know, absolute downpour, lightning strikes, and you're like, well, maybe it's just better to stay indoors. We're kind of at that sort of level of rain rather than the nicer level of rain at the moment. So qualifying still estimated to get underway at 4:15 local time. As Christian Horner sort of said, though, we are running out of daylight. You know, we do need an hour or so to actually run the qualifying session. So could end up seeing that run a little bit wide. FIA don't adjust well to anything. I think they're slow, not good thinkers. Teams get together, I want to say. Yeah, the FIA it's going through a bit of a reform, isn't it? I think a lot of people are wanting the FIA to be more similar and the stewards more similar to kind of how other sports have it. You know, you see like rugby and football, they have an adjudicating body which is absolutely the same and doesn't change race to race. Whereas obviously in Formula One, we have different stewards every single Grand Prix. We have different people running the actual race every single time. So the discrepancies in decision making can fluctuate a lot more because yes, they're all running from the same rule book, but the ups and downs of the stewards, I suppose it's the same with like having a different referee in different football matches. You know, some referees are slightly more lenient, some referees are slightly harsher. We have that in Formula One. We have some racetracks where you can get away with a little bit more, some racetracks where you can't get away with quite as much. And that kind of variability in the stewards and the FIA. And again, like here, maybe other stewards at other racetracks would have just said, go out there, see what it's like, and maybe we'd have seen some cars out on track in like full wet tires, possibly not doing very much, but they'd have kind of given it a go. Whereas these stewards have decided, no, we're going to actually err on the side of caution here. We're going to make sure that we delay the race start until we feel like it's perfectly safe. So kind of get that up and down with the different governing bodies and the different stewards that you have throughout the Grand Prix themselves. Hello, I'm here because F1 Gamer ended his stream because of the delay. I'm a fan too, so hi. Hello, mate. F1 Gamer. I don't even know F1 Gamer. Maybe I should check him out. I've started thinking about doing some gaming. I bought a Stream Deck, a Steam Deck even, not a Stream Deck. This is a stream. I bought a Steam Deck for streaming. So I might have some gaming bits coming your way. Trying to get it working with a little Logitech wheel that I've got. Because I'm not very good at gaming is the problem. And I just don't know how much I'd really be able to offer in the way of a good gaming content. I feel like you've got to be semi-decent for people to take you seriously. Max's car has got a different setup than Checo. Yes, Max is running the new floor where Checo is not still. Although Checo now does have a new chassis for this weekend. So can balance it out one way or another. Just asked like you're not cool saying cool. Huh? I'm so confused. Does Norris have an edge? Probably many. A few edges. Quite a weird shape as Lando Norris, isn't he? I'm still looking at this and undecided as to if it's really gonna get going. Not gonna happen if Max stays because Jos doesn't like Sainz Senior. Very true, yeah. The whole Carlos Sainz to Red Bull, that was discussed quite a lot, wasn't it? The fact that obviously Jos and Carlos didn't really get on. It is very wet still. See if there's any update. We've now hit 4 o'clock local time. Safety car is still out on track, having a little wander around. You can just see the amount of standing water, though, and it is draining moderately swiftly, but there's just more and more water that is continuing to fall, and whilst it continues to fall, we are going to have to continue to wait. So, waiting longer and longer for the race to finally get underway. Well, qualifying to get underway. Franco Colapinto in the Williams garage there. Still in his full racing overalls. He's prepared if we ever do get underway. The yellow striped Williams car. Lando Norris full wet tyres there being shown on screen. No tyre blankets, of course, for the full wet tyres anymore in Formula One. Trying to move away from using tyre blankets altogether in Formula One in the next couple of years or so. So that could be quite interesting to watch how Pirelli adapt to those kind of tyres. The safety car has come back into the pits. The FIA stewards and there you go, the FIA race director getting out of the safety car, and literally the words from his mouth there, looking like it's not going to get underway anytime soon, because he's saying that he needs to wait until the weather changes. Do some gaming, imagine maybe F1 24 career mode or F1 manager. Maybe. I feel like it's more of an off-season thing for me, but as I said, at the moment, I don't want to add another thing to like what I already have to do, or because it's quite hard sometimes to have the motivation to get home at 5 o'clock from your job. Yeah, as much as I absolutely love this, and like as you guys have seen, I want to do this. I'm very dedicated to it. I'm here every single race weekend. I don't think I've missed one since 2021. So we're getting there. But at the same time, sometimes you just lack that little bit of motivation to to put that extra 2-3 hours of work in after you've done a full day of work. So like, I don't want to add another thing where I'm like, okay, I'm also gonna do gaming on top of that, or like this and that and the other, without being committed and me being able to like absolutely know that I have the ability to do that. But yeah, maybe F1 manager in the future, in the off season, yeah, when there's no races, and so we can intersperse it a little bit. My students know that I do this. A few of them probably. It's not something I like shout about. I don't, walk in, get them to subscribe to the channel. For an extra couple of bonus points on your test, subscribe to the channel. But another 5 minutes has ticked away. Should I go to the gym or watch? I'd give it another 10 minutes. I think in another 10 minutes time, I think we'll have confirmation that it's not, or it is or is not going to be starting, because the rain is starting to dissipate. Still falling. It is starting to fall a lot slower than it was before. We have got various vehicles out on track, dispersing water off the racing line and moving rain away from the track. At the moment, we're still waiting quite a lot. It's not quite sure whether this is going to get underway. What's my name? James? Obviously, that run for Lewis Hamilton is also looking like it's not going to happen now, isn't it? Lewis Hamilton was supposed to be running in Ayrton Senna's car in like a tribute run a little bit later today. What was that? That was like 5-6 o'clock local time, 5:15 local time. Lewis Hamilton was supposed to be running in Senna's McLaren, but that does not look like it's going to happen. And new update: qualifying is estimated to start at 4:30 local time. So we have now got another additional 15 minutes delay added on to the time that we were given initially. Starting to get a little bit later now, isn't it? Starting to get a little bit later. Oh, actually, whilst we're here, and like we're literally out of Formula One things to talk about, I think, at this point, rather than just sort of looking at what's happening and having a little chat. Is anyone playing Pokemon trading card game Pocket? Pokemon TCG Pocket? Anyone? Anyone in the chat? Because if you are, throw me your friend codes. I'm trying to get as many friends on there as possible. Because I want some free packs. Because I'm absolutely addicted. 4:30 start now? Yeah. Told my son I was going to do something with him after this. Now I'm going to be dragged out because of the stupid rain. I mean, I think why don't you just get him to watch the rain falling on the Brazilian Grand Prix track? Sunset is at 6:20. Yeah, I think the Formula One is the running of Lewis Hamilton's car is definitely a no-go. Qualifying, it's estimated, it's been pushed back another half an hour or so. It's gonna get pretty tight, isn't it? how long have we been streaming? Like an hour and a bit. So it has been an hour longer already, like an extra half an hour. So we'll wait and see. A few people playing Pokemon Pocket. How do I put my friend ID in the chat? Okay. Then I can just throw a load of people. I mean, it's a very off topic. I just started playing it the other day, and it's very addictive. Super addictive compared to what you think. So I'm gonna chuck in the main chat. I'll throw my ID code in there. You can add it. I don't know how it works. This is the number that I've given. Saved car is out once again. Downloading the Pokemon. You don't have to download it. You don't have to download it. If you're not into it, you're not into it. But if you're into Pokemon, I've just started playing it. It's because I had a train journey. I went down to Brighton to film a couple of things with Mr. V recently. And sort of have a chat to him about the future and possibly doing some more things with him. So if you're a fan of Mr. V, could see him sort of popping up on my channel, me popping up on his channel a little bit more, because I had a really good time with him. I haven't messaged him actually since I've gone back, so I've just been super busy, but it went really, really well, and I had a great time with Mr. V. So he and I might be doing some more things in the future, but it's because I had that train journey. It's about 3 hours or so on the train. I was like, right, I'm just going to play a game. So I just Googled, like, what good phone games are out, and it literally launched the day I was on the train. So I was like, let's download this Pokemon Pocket game, see what it's all about, and I've gotten pretty addicted. I do love a card game. I was a big Hearthstone guy, if anyone's a Hearthstone fan. So I jumped straight onto Hearthstone, and then now I am big into Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go was great, yeah. Sorry, Pokemon Pocket is what I meant to say. Pokemon Go was great too, though. Pokemon Go, I go through phases with Pokemon Go. The problem is I get too addicted to Pokemon Go. Then I spend more of my life just wandering around the streets of like Norwich rather than like sitting at home and doing things that I should probably be doing. You know what I mean? Like there are things that I should be getting on with in my life, and Pokemon Go is not always one of them, as much as I would like it to be. But I'll chuck the my Pokemon Pocket ID in the chat. See what people think. Qualifying still delayed though. Another 4:30. Sent me a friend request. Here we go. I'll have a look. Yeah, I loved Pokemon Go so much, but it's way too addictive, and I have a very addictive personality. So I just can't. There you go. I'm accepting some friend requests. Pop it on there. Good for exercise. I do like a good stroll, to be fair. I went to the gym with my girlfriend yesterday evening after the sprint race. So no, sorry, the sprint qualifying. We went to the gym after that, and then went for like a little half an hour walk around Norwich. If you're ever around Norwich, you'll probably see me. I do wander about. Like I probably walk for at least half an hour every day, sort of to and from work, to and from bits and pieces, just sort of through Norwich city centre. So I am in Norwich city centre a lot. What if it doesn't stop raining? The debate now is whether or not we're going to see qualifying move to tomorrow morning. Could see qualifying tomorrow morning. And then whether or not we'll kind of see some yeah, it's one of those things. Would we go for how the sprint went? If we can't get qualifying in tomorrow morning and obviously still want to get the Grand Prix in, do we then look at the sprint qualifying or the sprint race and go from that as our starting order? Obviously, Max Verstappen with a 5-place penalty, he would drop down from 4th to 9th if we went off of the sprint itself. Am I a Norwich City fan? Sort of. I like football. I do follow Norwich City as much as I possibly can. I'm more of a Liverpool fan, which I know sounds weird, but nobody in my family likes football. And when I was a child, I picked a team and I liked Fernando Torres. It was a big thing. I chose Liverpool as my team and I've kind of stuck with it. But yeah, I do follow Norwich and go to a few games here and there. FP1, I just don't think Free Practice 1 is a very real look at how the drivers actually are for the weekend, because we didn't, it's not like everybody ran a qualifying lap in Free Practice 1. So it's a little bit harsh on the teams that did like longer hard tire runs. They didn't know this was going to happen. It's not precedent that we do take Free Practice 1 as the qualifying. So it's just like a little bit weird if we did take the Free Practice 1. But quali is not yet cancelled. Technically, it is still estimated to start in 20 minutes time, although we did have an estimated start for 10 minutes ago. We had an estimated start for 5 minutes time from now, and it's now 20 minutes from now. It's getting a little bit unlikely that it is going to get underway, but you never know. Never know. Love Pokemon Go. Got a 98 shiny. Oh, I got 98 shiny. Yeah, I can't remember what I had on Pokemon Go. Again, I had to delete it. Was way too into it for my own good. Just started wandering around to try and get like nothing, at the end of the day. But I remember I did go to like an event in Norwich for, I think it was Groudon or Kyogre at some point. Looks like the track is flooded. Yeah, it's not looking amazing. Ferrari fan and an LFC fan as well. Not a Ferrari fan. Oh, sorry, you're not talking to me. You're talking to Ferrari. Yep. McLaren fan and Liverpool fan. Max was 14th or something, so the penalty would be P20. Norris was first. Yeah, that would be interesting if they did take Free Practice 1, wouldn't it? Because Max Verstappen didn't have the best of Free Practice 1 sessions. Quali tomorrow morning. Looking more and more likely, isn't it? Looking more and more likely. Can I live stream a game of some kind? Unfortunately, I don't have any games set up. My Steam Deck is in the other room, so I don't have that. I can't play on that at the moment. Because I've got all of the multi-viewer stuff set up behind the scenes, because I was expecting the Formula 1 qualifying to get underway. So I've got all the I've got everything set up. It's behind the scenes. Like we've got the quali board, the lap telemetries, everything is all set up and ready to go. So I don't really have anywhere I can actually run these games from, because my PC is not able to run all of everything that I've got on it all at the same time. FAO won't cancel quali. Stands are packed. They won't disappoint them. It's getting towards the point where it's like, what can they really do? You know what I mean? Ooh. I think I've got another couple of friend requests. There we go. What happened to quali? Just being delayed at the moment. Slowly being delayed further and further into the future as things stand. Oh, thank you for subscribing, Donk6975 and Coco. Massively appreciate you subscribing to the channel, especially in this delayed time where we are just sort of hovering and wondering what's going to happen. Ooh. It's a very good point, actually. Mercedes have been pretty swift in the damp. Silverstone, Canada, obviously, both pretty good weekends for the Mercedes drivers. So it's looking like the Mercedes car might be able to turn up a little bit better. Maybe even go back to Silverstone. Obviously, Norris was pretty quick in Silverstone, probably should have won that race. Hamilton did win the race in Silverstone, so the Mercedes car might actually enjoy it more now that we are actually able to run the car in the wet weather conditions. But we are still delayed for another 15 minutes or so. Yeah, they're right. It would be interesting to see how they would set the grid if we aren't able to have a qualifying session. Obviously, you're just waiting to see what kind of delay they will have, whether or not it will be able to go. Watching strictly as well as listening to the news. I think that's absolutely fair enough, to be honest with you. That is more than reasonable. I'll be honest, I haven't ever watched an episode of... Is it an episode? A series? A version of? I haven't ever watched Strictly Come Dancing, but I know my mum and sister are super into it. So... It's outside of my wheelhouse, unfortunately. Did used to do some dance when I was a kid. Random grid place wheel. Imagine, that would be really fun. That'd be amazing. Imagine if it was just like a draw, you know, where like the FA Cup draw where they have the little spheres and they just have all 20 drivers and they're in the pot, and then they go starting P20, Liam Lawson, starting P19, Max Verstappen. Be like, who's gonna come out where? Go Guang Yu starts P3. But random grid would be hilarious. I think it would be insane as well at the start. You'd see so many people running around trying to sort out where and how they would be able to, or what sort of strategies they'd be looking at, and it'd be insane. Still no delay at the moment. Just double checking on the Formula One website and the Formula One Twitter. There haven't been any updates at the moment. We're still estimated to start in 10 minutes time, but looking less and less likely. Yeah, like a lottery, exactly. Just like, if you've ever watched like the FA Cup draw, they do the FA Cup. Prefer F1 and you're waiting watching that I can do. But yeah, a little random draw would be really fun. One shot qualifying. I mean, it might, like, if they manage to get the qualifying underway, but they don't have enough time to run the full, like, hour of qualifying, maybe we just have, like, Q1, all 20 cars, and that's the grid, you know what I mean? Like, we just do one qualifying session. Maybe make it a bit longer, make it, like, 25 minutes rather than 18. Like, one long qualifying session, not Q1, then Q2, then Q3, just one, like, bang out qualifying session. That would be interesting. Do super chats reach me? They do indeed. That is another way of supporting the channel. If you do want a super chat at some point. Honestly, I'd say you're probably better becoming like a patron or a member, because then you get additional content for your money. But that's just my opinion. If you want a super chat, you can super chat. They do indeed reach me. Here we go. We might have a little update. Estimated starting time for qualifying is now 16:45. Just pushing it back 15 minutes at a time. Let me quickly change the graphic. What a ridiculous... This is my fault. I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is my fault. Whenever I do a video or a live stream or anything like that, I am cursed. There has been 3 times this season where I've done like either driver predictions, or I've talked about driver transfers, or I've talked about changes on the Formula One grid, And then as soon as I put the video out, something happens, which means that I'm completely proved wrong. Like, I did a video, I think it was about Yuki Tsunoda and the possibility of moving to Aston Martin, and then he got confirmation of staying at RB. I did a driver's prediction for the next season, and then Lewis Hamilton decided to drop the bomb that he was going to Ferrari. Again, something that we never predicted. This is my fault. This is the first time that I've ever tried multi-streaming. So we've got the horizontal and vertical. I've put in an entire day's worth of work. I literally spent 6 hours this morning making sure that I had both of the stream setups set up correctly so that they looked good horizontal, or still looked the same horizontal. Like, if you guys have joined me on the general horizontal stream, you won't have noticed even a slight difference. If you're on the full stream, the vertical stream, it hopefully still looks fairly decent. But we now have got the point where it's just so annoying. It's just so annoying. I've done all of this work, and now we're not even going to get to qualifying session. It's my fault. It's my fault. I'm cursed. Can I make a video of me saying that it's definitely not going to win the World Constructors' Championship? No, because then they will. I don't want that. Literally, whenever I make a video about that kind of thing, or whenever I feel like I am cursed. So I've done this. The first time, literally, it's insane, right? Think about how many streams I have done. So I've streamed every race, every qualifying, every sprint since they started. And since I started in 2021, I've done every single one of them. This is the first time I try and do a multi-stream. And this is the qualifying session that we get. Oh, goodness gracious me. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Not much to say, but thank you. Thank you, Vedexo. Thank you for the super chat, mate. Massively, massively appreciate it. It helps out the channel massively. All of the money that I get from the channel, this is another thing, is why it's not my full-time job. It's because I've never actually taken any money out of the channel. Everything that you guys send, everything that we make from the channel goes straight back in. So thank you so much for your support, mate. Really, really does mean a lot to me. And it will go straight back in. It will make the streams and the content as good and as better. It will make the content better, and it will make the streams and all of the content around it as good as it can possibly be. All it does is go straight back into better microphones, better cameras, better facilities. Like, I brought a brand new PC this year because of you guys, and like, that would have never been able to have happened without it. And it's been able to mean that I can make content quicker, because on my old PC, it used to take about an hour and a half to render a 10-minute video. Now it takes like half an hour to edit a 10-minute video. So it's like I'm gaining so much time that I did not have when I had the old PC. Similarly, like these kind of things, all these graphics and stuff, they wouldn't have been able to run on my old PC. So they've been a big upgrade too. But thank you so, so much. The Swiss guys have stopped the broadcast. Oh God, everyone's given up, aren't they? Everyone is giving up. I think Alonso, Hulkenberg, and Hamilton can do great in qualifying because they have great wet experience. That is true. I feel like wet running does normally run in favor of those drivers that have more of a feel to the car, and as I said, have a little bit more experience inside of the cockpit. But we'll have to wait and see. They should just call it off. One more try. One more run. Carlos Sainz walking across to the Ferrari pit wall to see if anything is happening. Waving to a few of the fans. Having a little look at the pit straight is Carlos Sainz. And a wry smile from the Ferrari man makes me feel like it's unlikely that this is going to get underway. Never back down, never what? Toyota won. Ooh, did they? Haven't actually caught up with the WEC this weekend. It's a WEC weekend and a wet weekend for Formula One and motorsport. Ferrari on pole. It's not out of the question, to be honest with you. Like, they're up there in terms of pace this weekend, and maybe the wet conditions gives them the boost that they need, right? Gives them that little bit of a movement forwards. I think in order to keep quali safe, fun, and good for the sport, foot race around the track with the fans giving dodgeballs along the track. That'd be interesting, to be fair, because it's quite a long way around the Formula One track. I know that the Formula One cars do it in about a minute, but it's a considerable distance. So it'd be interesting to see, who would you back around the track if it was a race, like a foot race between the 20 drivers on the Formula One grid? Who would you back? I think Valtteri Bottas would be in with a good shout. He does a lot of cycling, and I know cycling's not quite the same as like long distance running, but just the stamina that I think Valtteri Bottas would have, I'd back him a little bit. I'd back Valtteri Bottas to be pretty damn good in a foot race. Who else is there? Let's have a little look at the board. Who else would I back? Behrman is young and quite tall. George Russell's also quite tall, but I don't know if they got the stamina of a Valtteri Bottas. Yuki Tsunoda would be absolutely screwed, wouldn't he? Bless him. Yuki he's got to take 3 steps so everybody else has 1. It's not his fault. But Yuki Tsunoda would definitely be towards the back of the grid if it was a foot race around Albon and Behrman. You've just gone for the tall guys, haven't you? Just gone for the taller drivers. George Russell's pretty tall as well, so considering. But I mean, that is quite a good idea, isn't it? I think Valtteri Bottas would be pretty decent. I'm thinking the likes of Tsunoda and Hulkenberg's pretty old, isn't he? Pretty rickety. Fernando Alonso's pretty old. I feel like those guys would kind of fall towards the wayside a little bit. Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, I don't really know. Lando Norris and Piastri, the same. I feel like they'd be kind of in middle of the pack. So instead of qualifying towards the front, we'd probably see the McLarens and the Ferraris towards the middle of everybody out there. Who else would be pretty good? Do you think Pierre Gasly? That's true. Piastri. Yeah, I mean, all the drivers are fit. All of the drivers are in good condition. It's just whether or not, you'd back them in a foot race. Not so sure. Stamina, these high-performance athletes. Daniel Ricciardo, may he rest in peace. I mean, he's not dead, but Daniel Ricciardo, may he rest in Australia. Yeah, Daniel Ricciardo would be pretty solid indeed. You think Franco? I think Franco would be towards the back end of the pack, wouldn't he? I think he'd just get barged out of the way. You got to remember, these drivers are, they're all running around, and part of like long distance running is also barging your way through a little bit, isn't it? I think they'd fall towards the back of the pack a touch. I think Albon has better 1-lap pace than Carlos. Ooh, in a Williams, I feel like it's just gonna take a little while for Carlos Sainz to get to grips with the Williams car. And maybe, but it's gonna. I feel like it's gonna be quite a tight battle between the two of them to begin with, and then it'll kind of regress a little bit in one direction or another. How are things going so far? At the moment, we've got another 15-minute delay. We should have been underway right now for qualifying. I mean, I could have said that half an hour ago. Could have said that an hour ago. But we are waiting and watching. What will happen if no one sets the time for the entire session? We don't know. Might go to sprint. Might go to sprint quali. Like the running of the Formula One drivers in those 2 sessions to see. Or whether the qualifying will be delayed until tomorrow morning. Am I on Twitch? No, I'm not. Oh yeah, Sainz plays football, doesn't he? Maybe he has got that stamina to be able to get there. Ocon, yeah, of course. Ocon's got very long legs. Sour points, mark my words. I think just because of Valtteri Bottas, yeah. I think he's got that absolute stamina inside of him. Joe might do well in a foot race. Less convinced. Less convinced. I feel like quali is where Albon might have the edge. I feel like Carlos comfortably ahead in race pace. Yeah, at least to begin with, right? at least to begin with, I'm imagining that Albon will have a slight edge when it comes to qualifying and race pace, to be honest with you. I think it will take a little while for Carlos to kind of bed in with that Williams car because it is quite a tricky car to drive. I think it's going to be a tight battle between the two of them, honestly. And I mean, if Carlos Sainz's form this season is anything to go off of, Carlos Sainz is absolutely flying. So could see Carlos Sainz demolish Alex Albon if things go his way. But I think it would be close to begin with, and we'll kind of have to wait and see how Sainz's form carries over from Ferrari to Williams. Very difficult back and forth. Oh, Pokemon Pocket request. Thank you, thank you. I will quickly check, my friends. Are people downloading this app because of me? I want a little commission. A lot of people joining at like level 1, level 2. Clearly haven't played this game before. But I appreciate it. I'm trying to get up to 99 friends on it. Because apparently the more friends you have, the more like tokens you can get or something. I don't really know the game well enough to actually understand, but apparently having friends is a good thing. Okay. But the card packs are incredibly addictive. Sarah's there already. Yep. Can't stop opening the packs. Exactly. That's why I want more friends on the game. More friends on the game means more packs for me. I just want some more packs. FIA have dragged it from 15 minutes to an hour. I mean, yeah, they're just slowly backing it up. But at the moment, 16:45, the rain is trickling. It's by no means as heavy as it was sort of an hour ago in terms of the rain, but there is still quite a lot of standing water. So, gonna be tough. Longest stream on my channel was probably the Lego stream, I think, which was a 10-hour stream, nearly 11-hour stream. I am hoping to do a 24-hour stream at some point over the winter break. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Can we do F1 Kahoot? Yeah, sure. If you wanna make it a Kahoot, feel free. Is it 5 o'clock now? I haven't seen that confirmation come through. At least in the ones that I've been resetting on the F1 website. The 100k special was something else. Yeah, the 100k special was super fun. 100k special was like a one-off, like just being ridiculously silly. Well worth going back and watching, actually. Like, has nothing really to do with Formula 1 as such. Like, there were Formula 1 questions involved, but not a lot of Formula 1 related things. It was more just a little bit of fun. The UK see the whole race for free? Absolutely not. I think it's the most expensive place to watch Formula 1 is the UK. Like, it costs me like £30 a month to watch Formula 1. It's a very expensive in the UK. I mean, that does also get me access to like football and stuff as well. So it is a little bit weird. 100k special was insane. See, people that were there, they expect it. Go back and watch it. It was very fun. Or if if you're in the chat right now, maybe you could just open up a video or two of mine in another tab. There's a few linked in the comments down below. Open up a video, just let that run through. Maybe become a patron, become a member. Help out the channel in any which way that you can. Am I into sim racing? A little bit. I had my first go on like a proper big sim rig the other day when I was down in Brighton. I was not quick, but 24-hour stream does not sound like a very wise idea. Well, it wouldn't necessarily be 24 hours, but it's a challenge. I'm going to sort of set myself 24 hours to complete that challenge, if that makes sense. So It could be a 24-hour stream. Hopefully it wouldn't be, but that's kind of the thing. How good is the quality of the F1 merchandise, like the hoodies and t-shirts? I think it depends which teams you get them from, to be honest. I've seen some people get merchandise from some teams and it not be amazing. I've seen some teams' merchandise be really, really good. Like, I personally think the AlphaTauri RB stuff that I've got is really, really good quality. You'd kind of expect that because they were a bit of a fashion brand, right? And then moving into that. The McLaren ones that I've got have been pretty decent. I don't want to throw teams under the bus, but yeah, I've come across a few people that have had merchandise from a few of the teams not quite being the best quality ever, and maybe leaving a few bits to be desired. Low-key, the 100k stream was super special. I mean, hopefully we'll get to do it again. 200k stream, maybe. Oh, I mean like a website stream F1 Grand Prix for free. I cannot say that they exist. They do not exist, unfortunately. It's crazy. It's starting 2 hours after the proper time. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to change the time on the screen. Da, 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 da. There we go. Oh, thank you for subscribing to the channel. A couple of new subscribers coming through there. Tapiwa, thank you for subscribing to the channel. Are you into Williams? I do quite like Williams, yeah. I think, like, in my tier list of teams, sort of from most liked to least liked, Williams are towards the top end, to be fair. But then I quite like a lot of the teams. Like, McLaren are obviously top. RB and AlphaTauri I've always had a little bit of soft spot for, more so when Pierre Gasly was there, but it kind of just continued because they were my second team whilst Pierre Gasly was there. And then I do like Yuki Tsunoda as well, so I don't know. I've always kind of had a bit of a weird soft spot for the second Red Bull team, which is weird because I really don't like the first Red Bull team. So it kind of goes a bit of to and fro there for me. Very much like one Red Bull team. Very much dislike the other Red Bull team. But I do kind of like the back markers a little bit more. Love Williams, not James Vowles. That's interesting. I mean, fair. I feel like he is quite divisive. Yeah. He's quite an intense man, it feels. So, can definitely swing one way or another. Pierre, indeed. I mean, behind me, I don't know if you can see, there's a lot of Pierre Gasly merchandise kind of behind my head. There's a Pierre Gasly mini helmet, Pierre Gasly hat from his AlphaTauri days. This was a Pierre Gasly purchase. This was when he was still in the team at that point. So Pierre Gasly is certainly up there as one of my favorite drivers ever in Formula One. Just a very, very cool guy. The FIA, though, indeed making us wait. Justice for Logan. Don't stop the live now. I feel like I've committed too far, haven't I? I've committed too far. I could have stopped the live stream like an hour ago and sort of said, you know what, guys, probably not happening. Let's stop the stream. Could have done that. Instead, I feel like I'm in it now. I'm in too deep. Imagine the payoff if we do see some qualifying. Then those people that have stopped their live streams, or they're going to feel silly. Or if we don't see some qualifying, which is looking more likely, to be honest. But maybe it's, maybe it's just, not gonna be the way. Got at least 10 of your videos playing in the background. My computer is lagging. I mean, maybe not 10. Maybe let's calm that down a little bit. You don't have to go haywire with that. but I appreciate you having my videos open in another tab. It really does help out. Like every single view massively helps out the channel. That is the best way that you can help out the channel, is to just watch the content. That's what this is all designed for, and I try and make it as good as possible for you guys. We're in too deep now. Exactly. It is the sunken cost fallacy. If you keep putting your money on red, eventually you get a red. No. We're not ending stream until the FIA literally confirm that this isn't going to happen. In fact, we're not ending stream until qualifying. Even if no, I was going to say, even if qualifying is tomorrow. Imagine if we just did like a stream all the way through. Like, say they had qualifying tomorrow morning. We'll just leave. I'm going to leave the stream on until qualifying tomorrow morning. Oh dear. Watching Formula 1 and football at the same time. Who's playing now? I have not caught up with any football that has been happening this weekend. I was in Brighton for the Liverpool-Brighton game earlier on in the week. That was very fun. I know Liverpool play Brighton again, this time at home. And again, we won. Yes, Liverpool 2-1 up. Who scored? Who scored? Gakpo and Salah. Beautiful read. Oh, wait, we went 1-0 down. Oh, okay. Liverpool, another 2-1 win, of course. Bournemouth meet Man City. Oh, my goodness gracious. What does that mean for the Premier League table? We're now ahead of Man City, like, properly, aren't we? Oh, 2 points ahead of Man City as it stands. Nottingham Forest are still third in the league. Goodness gracious me. Nottingham Forest on an absolute tear. Oh, it's beginning to look like a Liverpool Championship battle is on the line. Imagine that. A McLaren Championship in Formula 1, a Liverpool Championship in the Premier League. It's all my Christmases. This is now a 24-hour live stream. No. We'll save that for the concept that I've got. But that is going to be definitely like winter break. I've got a couple of weeks off at kind of Christmas time, so I'm planning on doing like a few fun 24-hour streams around then. But it's going to be an interesting one. Maybe don't go to Vegas ever. I'm not a gambling man. I will say that. I've never gambled in my life. I don't see the point in it, to be honest. Buy a computer, open a billion videos of you. That would very much help. A billion views would be ridiculous. But just a few. Don't end the stream. We need a 5-hour stream at least once. I've done 5-hour streams before. I've done at least a couple of 5-hour streams before. I think I've only done a 10-hour stream once, though, off the top of my head. So I think Lewis will be a good fit in Ferrari. Go back to his winning ways. I do, yeah. I do think that they will be pretty solid next season. I feel like Charles Leclerc is going to have the better of it next year. 2026, though, I feel like Hamilton, if Ferrari go in the same trajectory that they've been on in the last couple of seasons and they get it right, why not say Lewis Hamilton is in the title fight for 2026? I feel like the title fight for 2025, Charles Leclerc, I'd still back. Just because, this whole iteration of car, Charles Leclerc has been there for. Charles Leclerc was right there at the inception of it in 2022. He's been through all the ups and downs of the ground effect era with Ferrari throughout this entire sort of regulation cycle. So you'd back him to still have the benefit of that analysis and that sort of understanding of the car for 2025. But then 2026, complete open box, right? Lewis Hamilton could easily run in there. Liverpool are going to win the league. I hope so. No more Jurgen, though, so you can't sing the Jurgen Klopp song anymore. Jurgen said to me, What's the current local time? It is 15 minutes until 5 p.m. So 16:45. And the FIA still putting it. Another 15 minutes or so. Let me actually see if we've got any updates. Estimated time of 5 o'clock still, just in 15 minutes. But oh, start of qualifying is postponed. So yeah, no longer. Oh, thank you, Jules, in the chat, straight in there. Oh. So qualifying now is postponed. So there's no time for that estimated start for qualifying anymore. So qualifying has been fully postponed. Oh, dear. Do the grid in reverse championship position. That would be super fun. What did I miss? Not a lot. Not a lot. What do I teach? I do teach maths. Whoever guessed that earlier on was correct. Literally nothing. It says it's gone. Yeah. I think it's not yet postponed until tomorrow. It's just postponed. So we will wait and see. It looks like qualifying is going to be postponed. I think tomorrow morning is likely to be the case now. We've all watched and waited for a couple of hours. massively appreciate all of you that have stuck around for the nonsense chat that we've gone through, the ups and downs of throughout this rainy session. Lando Norris steps up onto the pit wall to have a little look at the start-finish straight, and I think Lando Norris has also decided unlikely to get underway. Oscar Piastri also there as well, just waving to the crowd. The 1-2, of course, for McLaren in the sprint race earlier today. Lando Norris handed the victory by Oscar Piastri. Those two finishing solid 1-2. But we are now seeing the drivers coming out, waving at the fans. I think just sort of giving them the appreciation. You know, they've been sitting in the rain for a couple of hours now, waiting for something to happen, and nothing has really materialized. They've seen the safety car come past a few times, a few different workers running around with squeegees and mops and trying to take water off the racing line, but it's never really come to any kind of fruition. More hopium. I think McLaren and Ferrari will have a great start to the season, but they'll struggle and Red Bull will dominate like 2022. Wow. Not sure about that. There we are. So mechanics are now moving. Yeah, the telemetries are being put up above the cars. The cars are being hoisted back up again. The tires are being moved out of the back of the garage. George Russell for the Mercedes team just coming out to, I imagine, also wave to the fans and just say thank you for waiting and watching, but not looking like there is going to be any qualifying for today. Tomorrow does also have a very high chance of rain, so we'll wait and see in terms of when qualifying is going to take place. I would imagine they're going to try and put it in for tomorrow morning. But there is going to be no qualifying here in Sao Paulo this evening. We have, unfortunately, hit the weather. I mean, it always does happen in Brazil. It's always an opportunity that qualifying is going to be rainy. The race is going to be rainy. It's never 100% guaranteed what you're going to get, but it looks like we are going to have a postponed qualifying session. If that is the case, we will be back live for it tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled for another qualifying live stream to pop up on your YouTube feed. Having a look if there is any confirmation of times, places that places Sao Paulo, times, more details to follow, says the FIA, but postponed nonetheless. Not going to happen today, is it? Especially because the sun is going to set in Sao Paulo fairly soon. It's already getting very, very dark out on track, and unfortunately, we don't get to see Formula One cars under the lights in this kind of circuit. Very much specialized for places like Singapore and Las Vegas, where we get to see the cars under the lights. Not going to happen here. And it doesn't look like we're going to see much happen in Sao Paulo. Could we use the sprint grid? That could be the possibility, right? So outside of if qualifying is suspended and doesn't happen, then yeah, we might end up seeing the sprint grid get used instead. Or maybe even sprint qualifying. Qualifying grid technically was a qualifying session. No running today. I'm just going to close up all the multi-viewer stuff. We don't need that anymore for the stream, and I'm going to leave it there, to be honest with you. I know that we're going to wait for confirmation, but I'll wait for that confirmation to come through, and then I will put up another stream for tomorrow. And no lap times shown. So oh, let's have a look. Oh, there you go. Stefano Domenicali does indeed say it. So it's going to be qualifying tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning is where they're going to try and put the qualifying in. And we're going to disappear. So I'm going to disappear, reset the streams and bits and pieces that I have to do for tomorrow morning as well. And we're going to be back live once more tomorrow for the Sao Paulo qualifying. And of course, for the race itself, hopefully tomorrow evening as well. Thank you guys so much. I will see you then.